I'd like to welcome you back to Moto Install, project number 17. This being a 1977 Honda CB550 in a straight 4-cylinder configuration. Today is a good day to stop, take a break, and make an episode because I'm pretty much done welding, grinding, drilling, basically making sparks and dust everywhere in the whole garage. And after this episode, I actually will dismantle the bike completely and paint it. Paint, wiring, plumbing for the front brakes. Basically, perform all the maintenance, change oils and whatnot. But I cannot do the wiring until the frame is painted. Well, I could, but there's no reason for it. But today I'm gonna walk the camera throughout the bike and see all the modifications we've done since last time. In the previous episode, we've talked about the fairing, the fuel tank, and the seat. It's basically what defines the motorcycle for what it is. In my case, being a cafe racer, but some of you will be building choppers or other ideas for custom. But some of these ideas that I'm about to show today will apply throughout the board, regardless of what motorcycles you're working on. But before I walk you around the motorcycle, I'm gonna sit on the bike to show you the sitting position. Which is important because the foot pegs, especially the brake side, may be controversial, and I don't know yet if it's a really stupid idea or a clever one. Only test ride will tell, and we'll go from there. But let's sit on the bike. It feels very nice, very natural, with the feet right under my butt. I don't have to lean my weight on the wrist, which you should never use the handlebars for body support. It should only be used for controlling the motorcycle. But the foot pegs are great because I don't need my hands to remove my weight and to shift my weight onto the motorcycle from left to right, front and back, or lean completely forward for a full torque high speed run. So it's the foot pegs are where they need to be. Now let's walk you around and show you why there's such a it's something I've never done before. Let me show you what I'm talking about. From my previous experience, I know that the foot pegs right there, it is a compromise between sitting position and ground clearance at full lean angle. When you lean the motorcycle, believe it or not, they will touch the ground. And from my experience, about 18 inches is the least amount for comfort-wise. 18 inches, 20 inches would be nice, but it would be a little bit too low to maintain ground clearance. And this way, positionally, it should be just fourth of the center of the seat, center of the CB right there. Just a little forward, maybe a quarter away in the front. That would be the optimum position. Unfortunately, when I got to that point, I realized that my brake pivot occupies the same space I wanted my foot peg to be at. So what I decided to do, because I couldn't talk myself out of it, I welded the foot peg clevis right onto the brake pedal, and obviously it spins. You see that spinning? It is spinning with the foot brake, and I'm not sure if that's going to be helping my situation or not. I don't see a problem with it. Brake lever itself was about 33% longer. Not about exactly 33% longer, because the original foot peg was right over here. And moving everything backwards, the pedal needed to be gone also. I made a new padding for it, and I reshaped the pedal itself to give it a little more sexier look. But because I removed 33% from there, I needed to compensate and do the same with this one. This being the control rod for the main drum. This activates the cam that splits the drums together, the drum shoes. And the original hole was right there. So I had to move it down 33% to compensate and keep the factory lever ratio. And originally the return spring was a spiral spring, a torsion spring wrapped around here, maintaining this, bringing this lever back into position. But as you can see, I used the original hole for the lever to install a tension spring. And I made this adapter to bolt it onto the frame, which is obviously movable back and forth to, so you're not tied down. You're not necessarily committed to use this particular spring. You can use any other spring, but as long as it's strong enough to return the pedal to its location. But rear brake works. While we're here, why don't we talk about the exhaust? The exhaust, I ended up welding a connector over there, a merger. Let's see that. It's a 2-into-1 collector coming into a muffler. This was a cocktail shaker muffler. It used to have a flange at the end. This particular flange right here. And they're called cocktail shakers because, well, they look like cocktail shakers, but I removed that extra excess. A little too fancy. I wanted to simplify it, and it does look better without it. And I had to make hangers because I didn't want to commit to these mufflers. If I crash the bike, I'd like to replace the parts and just basically bolt them on. I don't want to have to modify new parts in order to build them, to bolt them onto the bike. So I made this hanger that's sort of, I can fit multitude of mufflers on there. This lower portion is stainless steel because I don't want to have to paint it underneath. It will burn against the hot exhaust. And this is a stainless steel clamp. It is trapped in there because the muffler is tapered. This muffler is tapered, and I don't want the clamp to slide down the taper. So it's trapped within that A-frame. And same on the other side, but the other side was a little more complicated because this motorcycle came in with a 4-into-1 pipe. All the 4 headers were meeting on the other side. So originally this motorcycle did not have a muffler onto this side, and because of it, the original center stand lever no longer worked. It was hitting right over there when fully folded up. No biggie. I chopped this part out and I made a new pedal so I can find it. On this side, the shifter side, I had to replicate the box on the other side to make it symmetrical. I made a box, I welded a tube on there, and the foot clevis right on top of the clevis. So it's basically part of the frame. I did see it. I saw the same idea, clevis welded directly onto the frame on BMWs. So I'm not sure. I don't think I'm the only one in that regard, putting the foot clevis directly on the frame versus having a bracket that bolts onto the frame. The shifter itself is a modified Honda shifter lever. It will have a rubber protector over there. It will protect my boots. But I needed to modify it. I added that tab over there so I get the right angles. The right angles for my foot to be on, and also 90 degrees between linkages. Also the sprocket cover, I rounded off to better bring out the contour of the engine. It was I cut about 1.5 inches from there. Battery box This was the original right here. It ran sort of like this in a frame. I made another one to use a very small, lightweight lithium battery. This weighs nothing. It feels like a toy. Only time will tell if it's big enough. It's a 12 volt, obviously, 6 amp hour capacity, and the battery box fits just like that in there. And I'm allowing for a larger footprint and a larger height in case the battery is not big enough to help out the bike. You'll notice I switched to 2 carburetors. Originally the motorcycle came with 4 carburetors, but I'm not going to talk about the carbs today because that will require a special episode just for that. But I also rounded off the fins, the engine fins, in the very last episode. If any of you watched, I don't know. The fuel tank. I had to make a dashboard for it. It's not tied down yet because it's coming apart for painting. But the fuel tank was made for a Norton Manx. It was specifically made to fit the Honda CB frames, and it does, with one exception. That left a big gap in between. Why don't I show you? It left a big gap in between. This is a dashboard I made. You'll have the essentials on there and the idiot lights, but it will have some fuses underneath it. And then this rubber, because the dashboard is stationary, it mounts. I'll show you in a little bit. The dashboard is not moving on the frame; it's stationary. The gas tank does flex a little bit on its rubber mounts, so I needed a little bit of gap between the dashboard and the fuel tank. Let's set these aside. The front of the dashboard mounts onto a similar clamp like this. I see I welded a tab on there with a stud coming out of it. That clamp, which is this, also is holding my main fairing stay. If you can see it, my main fairing stay is this, and it holds the fairing in place with a quick detach pin, so it can come off very easily. And once the clamp is removed, basically the fairing comes off, and it would have an original style neck over there. Also the same with these brackets. These are the secondary brackets holding my fairing on, and once those are unbolted off the frame returns to its original condition. From Fender, I decided to install it with nylon straps, very strong nylon straps. These straps are actually stronger than the aluminum it holds. And the nylon straps are allowing the Fender to dance around a little bit, taking vibration away from it, and also the Fender straps allow me to not commit to this Fender. If I do crash the bike, I will probably not find the same Fender again, and it's important because the radius will be different. The cross-section radius will be different. So metal tabs over here would have dedicated that fork brace to a particular size Fender. I didn't want to do that. And same idea applies to the back fender. If you'll see this, it is a rubber mounted. This is a rubber strap, fiber reinforced rubber strap that holds my tail light and my license plate. See, the rubber strap goes underneath that plastic, underneath the inner plastic, and the license plate itself. It's trapped in there, it cannot escape, and it allows the fender some flexibility. If I was to drop the motorcycle, it will not crack the fender, or Even the engine vibration will not crack the fender. It is very that rubber strap is enough to lift more than 2.5 motorcycles. That would this motorcycle off the ground. Since we're here, let's talk about that really cool looking taillight, because it took some work to get it. It's originally it started off just like this, with a metal mesh in the front. Metal mesh cut out too much light, so I redesigned the lancing. But I also rounded off all the corners, the sharp corners, ridges. I don't like them. They were too gothic looking. And also the mounting bracket, I didn't like. It was off-sided. It was not centered, and you can see. But I decided to round the corners off and made my own brackets. Made my own mounting bracket out of a flat stainless steel stock that I split in half and fold it over onto itself, and a stainless steel strap to hold it on there. But it looks so much cooler. The lance itself, I didn't like the mesh, the steel mesh that came with, so I cut out an old taillight I had from a Harley laying around. I do have a lot of Harley parts because that's my main motorcycle I work on, but about 2 hours worth of work, and it made a taillight look a lot cooler than what I have right now. And that rubber strap again, this is an example of aluminum instead of rubber. This was on a previous bike, and it mounted like that, and you can see aluminum does not like vibration. It cracked, so anything that I made with aluminum I am replacing with rubber. Much better. But back to the front end, because I forgot to mention, I adapted a second disc, a second brake. Originally the Hondas only came with the disc on the other side, and one caliper, one disc. I was able to adapt the second rotor and the second caliper. Work was involved. This right here is the drive for the speedometer, and it has 2 tabs. One is over here, and I had to machine the pocket to fit that tab into the new rotor, basically to do the same job as the old part that the new rotor replaced. This was the old retainer, and it drives the speedometer cable. The speedometer is very, very close. You can see there's just barely enough gap between the rotor, but it works. It is functional, but I still need to put all the plumbing, fill it up with fluid, because I'm driving 2 discs. I also updated my master cylinder into a radial brake master cylinder from a modern motorcycle. I think it came from a Gixxer, 2019 Gixxer. I modified the lever to better match my opposing clutch lever, which is just as simple. But this is a 17mm master cylinder. It should suffice to drive both of those calipers. And I'm not sure if I got anything else to show you today, but wow, I am very much impressed with the way the motorcycle is starting to look. I love those mufflers. The exhaust looks very cool on there. The rear sets are to be determined, and of course you're probably wondering, does the kicker still clear? Of course. It would have been silly if I went through all that work and didn't check it to make sure that it's still functional. But that idea will have to prove itself if it works or not. But the way the fender and the seat go together, so beautiful, and the fairing and the gas tank together, just bring the whole motorcycle together. I don't know what else to add other than I am ready to strip it down for paint, for electrics, and this is my most tedious job, and I'm not really looking forward to it. It'll take about about 2 weeks to get it roadworthy and get it ready for a test ride. And until then, you'll have to be patient. We'll talk later. Bye-bye.